so that was a little interlude that I wrote called While Coffee Steeps. Because that is exactly what it is. It's not really like a full song. It's the kind of thing that you would play while you're steeping the coffee or while you're cooking a hot pocket or something like that. It's not really a full song. It's actually just a technical exercise that happens to also like sound musical and good. So it addresses a ton of different things. So let's get into it today. General disclaimer, I do not expect you to be able to play every single thing along with me. I do not expect you to be able to play every single bit of this the next time that I see you. It's all talking points, and techniques always take time, right? It always takes time to develop the techniques. And so we'll talk about it, video lesson, great time to talk about it, because you kind of have like, you can like look at the fingerboard, you can kind of like maybe you can zoom in and stuff like that. So that would be like super duper cool. Anyway, so don't expect to be able to do everything all at once. Take little bits and say, oh, okay, that's cool. I can work on that. I can kind of put that into my routine a little bit. And it's going to help your understanding of the guitar. So let's get right into it. So the first thing that we want to, or the first thing that I'm going to address as far as how to play this little lick, this little line, is going to be, we're going to talk about the left hand, right? We need to have the left hand to be as super solid as possible. As we know, 99% of the time when we're playing the guitar, our right hand is taking care of the way that the string is articulated. The sound is really coming out of the right hand. The left hand is just holding down the strings. But in this style of playing, the left hand needs to be equally adept to producing its own sound and kind of carrying its own weight and doing its own thing, because the right hand is going to be occupied doing something else. So really what this comes down to is it comes down to having solid hammer-ons, right? Pull-offs later, but it comes into solid hammer-ons, right? And what we would call these is dead hammer-ons, right? Because we're not hammering on from something. We're just going in, boom, and doing it. So it takes a little bit of force, but you also need to be able to be balanced, because you can't be coming from all the way up here to come down, right? So what we're doing in the exercise, we'll do this first, is we're playing a C, and then we're playing an E, and we're playing a G. It's really not as much as it sounds. When we combine these things, it makes it sound like we're doing way more than we actually are. But it's just C, E, and G. And I happen to be doing that here on the E and the A string. So at the 8th fret, 7th fret, and 10th fret. And one of the things that I want you to notice is I'm trying to keep my index finger almost like a semi-bar, because what we were noticing before, and we're actually going to address this too, we want to be able to strengthen all 4 of our fingers, right? So here's what we can do. We can start here at the 7th fret, and we can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, just like this. The sound's going to be a little weaker than if you're like playing with a pick. But it's really getting the independence of the left hand together. And what I want you to notice is if we're coming from over here, you're gonna have a ton of like extra string sound that you don't really want. So if you want to be able to control that, that's what I'm doing with my index finger right here. It's kind of coming down every single time along with everybody. Just like that. You can do that on multiple strings. We'll we'll talk later about why the why the higher strings are harder to do this on than the lower strings. It's always easier to start doing this kind of thing on the first 2 or 3 strings. So there we go. In the etude, what we're doing is we're just going C at the 8th fret, E string, E, 7th fret, A string, and then G, 10th fret, A string. What's nice about this shape is you can move it anywhere. So you see what I mean about this being the kind of thing that you would practice. You wouldn't want to, I mean, you could, I mean, I would practice this for hours, right? Because it's just, for me, it's fun. You know, this is the kind of thing that you can work into your practice session while you're cooking a Hot Pocket or while you are steeping the coffee, such as the title of the song. So there you go, getting a solid left hand together. So the next part that we're going to address is going to be the right hand. So what's happening with the right hand is we are playing harmonics. We're basically doing this. It's just 12th fret harmonics. And it's really just the equivalent of playing open strings, except for it's just an octave up. So you can work on getting that. Work on it with all 4 fingers like that. Once you have a solid 12th fret, which is pretty easy to produce. Once you have that together, what you'll realize is there are harmonics all across the fingerboard. And they're even all the way up here. When you can find them, they're here for sure. It should be right here. That's where it is. So the way that I'm producing, back to the right hand, so the way that I'm producing the harmonic now is I am using my index finger, right, and I am putting that on the 12th fret, right, and then usually with my ring finger, I can do it with both. I've seen a lot of people do it with the middle finger too, but I use the ring finger because that's just how I learned how to do it. What I do with my ring finger is that's what's picking the notes. So this is holding it down, and I release right after I hit it. And then when you get those kind of middle 3, because you get that nice little G major chord. And you'll have a little bit more melody. So it's one of those techniques that it's like, it's, you know, kind of, it's neat to see it. And if you don't really know what's happening, it's kind of easy to get like lost. But as you can see, what I'm doing is, I'm just kind of messing around a little bit, finding like some pretty stuff, and then just seeing, oh, can I like go back and forth between these places? We can talk for hours about how to produce all of these and be able to, you know, expand the notes away from just this one zone on the guitar, but that's a whole other thing entirely. This is kind of like, you know, think about it as like the first step, just getting that nice 12th fret. It's going to come out and it's going to be really, really beautiful. And these are actually like, these are actually pretty dead strings right now. They're not even really that new, and I can still get them to like chime and be really like bell-like. So that's a ton of fun, right? There's the right hand. So, a couple of things to think about as far as why we're doing it, I guess. This all this little idea came out of basically like the reason that I play the guitar, in my opinion, right? The reason that I play the guitar is I was just, it was early in the morning, I was just playing around and I was just like working on different things, and I just kind of like, I just kind of found myself kind of like traveling down that place, and it was kind of like, I just like got to a zone that it was like, I was there, but I was like also kind of not there. I was just like so inside of the guitar that nothing else was really around. I was just like, I was just able to like focus, and it was that's really like, that's the zone, that's like the place that we want to be in. So one thing to think about is like, all the notes here are really, really not that hard. All it is here with, with what's going on with the left hand, we've played C, E, and G a million times at this point. So that's no big deal. But notice how when we get to know the guitar, we don't have to be limited to just C, E, and G right here in this one spot, and then C, E, and G in this one spot. We can know that all the way up here, that's C, E, and G still there. And then we can make decisions on how and why we're going to play in different positions. And of course, for this one, I could actually I can actually do that entire thing in this regular position. I could probably even, I don't know how I would get this, but there'd be like a oh, I actually kind of like that. I guess there's room for anything. Anyway, but that's what I would call like, the sonorities of the guitar, why we would play in certain places. The reason that I'm gonna play over here though is because, like I was saying, it's easier to do this kind of like dead tapping or dead hammer-ons in the lower position because the string is thicker. And one thing that you'll notice is when you do this kind of thing, it's one of the reasons why tapping on an acoustic can actually be a lot of trouble, right? Is when we do that dead tap right there, you'll notice that you're actually hearing two different things, right? And it took me a really long time to actually figure out what was going on with this sound, but it's kind of neat, but it's also like, oh man, it's kind of a pain. But it's why tapping on an electric is kind of a lot more doable, but there's still certain things that you can achieve that like work out that are really, really nice. So check this out, this is kind of neat. So of course you're hearing the string from this direction. You can hear that, but you can hear a ton of other noise in there. And even if I cover this, so the only string that's ringing, is you can still hear that other thing. Check this out. It's the other side of the string ringing. See if I can do it. So it's like you're hearing both sides of the string at the same time, so that's why. And for some reason, you can still hear it for the lower sound, but it's a lot less it blends into the sound of the guitar a lot more. Anyway, I could talk about this for a long time, but that's just kind of the fun stuff with the guitar. So anyway, enjoy playing through this lick, this idea. Incorporate some of this stuff into your practice stuff. Just as a quick note, I'm in standard tuning, so this is all just regular tuning. I know some people do like other tunings and stuff, but I'll try to keep it to standard E as much as possible. So just here in standard tuning, and have fun with your practice this week.